and I am Radio Royal's resident hypnotherapist. I'm here with George this afternoon, and we're just going to have a little chat about those New Year's resolutions. So I wonder how many of you listening had set yourself some New Year's resolutions at the beginning of January, and you won't be surprised to know that by this sort of time in the year, about 80% of people have already ditched their New Year's resolutions. Is that you? And in fact, a quarter of people ditch them all in the first week. So I'm going to test George now. I'm going to ask him, what do you think are the top New Year's resolutions that people set?
Well, I probably eating, going on a diet.
Yeah, definitely.
And probably smoking as well. I don't know about, because there's a lot less smokers now, isn't there?
There is, but that's still in that top 5. The stopping smoking,
well,
or the stopping vaping.
Well, I would say food, dieting, almost. You know.
Yeah, that's got to be the top one. I think eating healthier.
I think it is, because
losing weight.
I mean, I've lost 8 pounds recently, so
very good.
I'm on the right road. I think.
Yeah, very good.
But trying to think of something else. What?
Yeah.
But you'll tell me.
What are the things that people overindulge in Christmas?
Oh, well, of course, food and drink.
Drink, yeah. So the alcohol is another one. That's
I'm not going to touch alcohol ever again. Always say that.
Do you?
The next day.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people feel like that. We get a bit weary of the alcohol over Christmas, and by the time you've really overindulged on New Year's Eve, by the time you get to New Year's Day, everybody says, I'm never drinking again. And you know, the interesting thing with alcohol and people that I'm seeing with alcohol these days is, a few years ago it used to be, I want to just cut down my alcohol and just drink on a weekend. And I'm seeing more and more people these days that actually want to cut out alcohol altogether, which is a really interesting shift. I think society's view on alcohol is definitely changing. And I find it really, really interesting. And it's definitely something you can do with the help of hypnosis.
Can I just say something there when you're talking about it? And of course, a lot of people are now drinking non-alcoholic.
Yeah,
drink.
There'll be quite a few people dry Januarying out there.
Yeah,
I bet.
But I think if the brewers or wherever they come from make the non-alcoholic drink better than the alcoholic drink, I think we've got, maybe that would help.
Yeah, oh definitely. And there was a news article the other week about a bar that's just opened in Manchester that only does alcohol-free drinks, and that's interesting, because 10 years ago that wouldn't have stood a chance, would it? But
well, you wouldn't have thought it, would you?
I think people's views on alcohol are starting to shift, and it'll be interesting, because not wishing to be too cynical about it, but there's no secret about the fact that the tobacco companies have moved into vaping products, so they've not actually lost any money along the way moving into vaping.
No.
And I wonder if the brewers and the alcohol producers will actually make that shift as well and go into low alcohol, no alcohol.
Yeah, well,
things. You're seeing that with gins, aren't you?
Everything's changing all the time, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like smoking. I mean, I've had a lung infection. The doctor said, "Well, you're smoking." You'd smoked. I said, well, yeah, I gave up 35 years ago.
Yeah.
But they did say, when I was at school even, well, if you stop smoking 10 years, it's all cleared up.
Right.
And that's nonsense.
Yeah, you've still done the damage to your lungs, I guess, haven't you?
For your life.
Yeah.
I found that out.
Yeah, and that is a shame, but you will definitely be healthier as a result for being a non-smoker. There's no doubt about it. You know, I think if you'd have carried on smoking, you'd have been a lot worse.
But we don't realise the consequences, do we?
No, and I think it's a generational thing as well. You know, I look at my teenagers, and they wouldn't consider smoking, but you see a lot of teenagers vaping these days.
My kids wouldn't smoke.
No, and in fact they're saying sort of 1 in 5 kids have vaped, which is worrying, isn't it? But they are talking about changing so that you can't have disposable vapes now, and some of the flavours are going to change them so they don't appeal to children quite as much. That was on the news earlier. So
when I was young, well, I don't know anybody that didn't smoke.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody, it was all over the films and the TV. Everybody, you know, it was just part of society, wasn't it? In fact, it was seen as quite cool and a bit sexy, wasn't it?
I had a job, and they gave me money to buy cigarettes each week.
Ah, really?
So that I can give them to the clients.
It's interesting, isn't it? You can't imagine that now, can
No,
you? That would just never happen, would it?
When you look back, you think,
yeah. Well,
Eh?
yeah, some of my earlier jobs, you could smoke in the office, and it was just kind of accepted that that's what some people would be doing. They'd be having a cig. And now when you think about that, I mean, things have really changed in the last sort of 15 years, haven't they, since the smoking ban came in? So those definitely are the sort of top resolutions. People also have things like exercising more. So that kind of losing weight, eating healthier, exercising more, that's probably all in one, really, isn't it? The cutting out the smoking, cutting down the drinking, and then it's usually something around stress reduction probably is the next one. People want to be less stressed or have more time for themselves or be more productive, those kinds of things. So those are the top ones. But as I say, most people tend to ditch them before they even get through a month, and that's interesting, isn't it? So I wonder why people tend to ditch their resolutions quite so early. And a lot of it might be because of the approach that they take, because we've been overindulging over Christmas, and then you get to the new year and then you set yourself something really quite harsh. Like, it's not really coming from a place of love, your New Year's resolution. It's about punishing yourself sort of physically, mentally, spiritually for your wrongdoings, in quotes, over Christmas. And you go into January, which is a bit of a misery making kind of month, because we're all feeling a bit skint and payday seems a long way away, and it's dark and the weather's crap, and excuse my French. Don't know whether am I allowed to say that word, George?
well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We all know about it.
Okay. Suddenly
it could be worse.
I suddenly had I wouldn't say
worse.
the really rude one, I promise. But you know what I mean. The weather's not great, is it, this time of year? And so we just sort of get into a bit of a funk, and then we're trying to do these New Year's resolutions as well, which is sort of punishment, and we're just not getting anywhere. So I've come up with some alternative New Year's resolutions for you. Do you want to hear them, George?
Personally.
Well, I think for the world, the universe, for people around you, things that are going to make you feel good. So,
Go on then.
okay, let's hit you with an easy one. And the first one I'm going to say is wear some bright clothes. Because, you know, interestingly, I went to buy a new winter coat just before Christmas, and the coat that I had that had worn to bits that I loved was pink, and I tell you, nothing made me happier than the pink coat. So I decided that what I really needed was another pink coat. And it is so hard to find a pink coat
like
in December. Well, I do like a bit of Barbie pink. But, you know, it just fills me with joy. It makes me feel good. It gives off this kind of great energy to people around me. So people pick up on that.
Well, don't you think when you're wearing the dark colours, you feel dark yourself?
Absolutely.
In
It
the
definitely
winter, you're
drags you
dark.
down.
I mean, I do wear Hawaiian shirts a lot.
Yeah.
You know, they're all bright. So what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, wearing something like that. And it makes me happy.
Yeah, they really do. And, you know, you can experiment. And if you're somebody that's been sort of playing it safe, you know, because a lot of women are told to wear black because we think that black makes us look slimmer, but what black makes us do is vanish into the background. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be stepping forward and being really visible and noticeable.
That's right. Yeah.
And so what you could do maybe is, if you're going to wear black, put some bright coloured tights on, or a bright scarf, or if you're a guy, wear some bright socks or something. You know, if you can't get away with something too snazzy at work.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, God, wear socks. Yeah. That's the youth, though, isn't it, George?
Well,
they're not
it is,
wearing
yeah, it
socks,
is,
are they? Because apparently that's not cool.
No.
But what do we know?
No.
So that would be my first one. And there's a lot of psychology around colours, which I don't really want to get into today, but definitely the more sunshiny the colours that you're wearing, the more sunshiny you feel, and you give off this kind of energy that attracts other people that have got that same kind of vibe themselves. Because you know what, the number of people that would comment on my pink coat, or I've got this handbag that's like a bowling ball shape and it's bright orange, and the number of people that comment on it, because it just it brings sunshine into people's life, because it's a bit wacky and a bit weird, and we shouldn't be afraid of colour. I think we're a little bit afraid of it, but it definitely lifts the mood and makes you feel good.
I mean, I've been to quite a lot of funerals, unfortunately, and people don't wear, not many wear black anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
There are lots, because we're celebrating somebody's life, and it makes you. I don't know. It depresses you a bit, I think, if you.
Absolutely.
And you should be. Well, I mean, don't go into Hawaiian shirts and shorts. You know. I mean, you're talking about what about men wearing shorts all through the year?
Oh, did you know what? I love a postie wearing a pair of shorts in winter.
They've had so long trying to get shorts.
Yeah.
For the work, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Walking around in shorts. Well, because they run and walk, and they won't give it up. I'm not taking my shorts off, and might never get any more ever again.
I must say, on my morning dog walk as well, I see a couple of guys sort of regularly, and they are religiously wearing their shorts all through winter. And their argument is that if it's chucking it down with rain, as it is this morning, as we're recording this, that it's actually easier to dry yourself off. Whereas if you've got, the worst thing you can wear is a pair of jeans, actually, when you're out in the rain, because it just soaks up all that water, and it's awful. Cold.
Thick and cold.
So yeah, bit of sunshine, bit of bright colour in your life, make you feel really good. Definitely lift your spirits, and it's something that's really easy to do. So that's my first suggestion for a New Year's resolution.
Cars.
Yes. Yeah. What colour is your car? I've just seen it outside.
It is sunset orange.
Yes, that's a good colour, isn't it? In fact, my mum's about to change her car, and I'm encouraging her to go for a yellow car, because I think it just makes you feel good.
We've had a few yellow cars.
Yeah, makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Bright. We call it, what would we call it? A slab of butter. We call it prim. We called it so many different names, because everybody said, "Oh, isn't that bright?"
Yeah.
I says, yeah, that's why we bought it.
Exactly. And, you know, a yellow car's not for everybody, is it? Because it's quite a sort of statement choice. But why are we playing it so safe all the time? It just makes you feel good, doesn't it? A bit of colour. So that's my first tip, a bit of colour. So next one I'm going to suggest is prioritise your sleep this year. So what's your sleep like, George? Are you sleeping all right?
At the moment, no, because of my water infection.
Oh, yes, getting up to pee.
I'm up every 5 minutes, I don't know.
And you know that for men of a certain age, that getting up to pee is quite a common thing, isn't it?
But I'm late to bed. We go to bed about 12 o'clock at night, and we get up about 9:30 next day.
Well, they are. You're getting a great amount of sleep there, aren't you?
We get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. And you know, that's a really important point that you've actually alluded to there, which is, you know, some people are larks and some people are owls and some people are somewhere in between. And what I mean by that is some people are better first thing in the morning and some people are better late at night. Like, I tend to be more of a morning person than an evening person, because come 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm flagging and I'm quite happy to go to bed at that time. But for you, you'd be like, I've got another couple of hours in me yet, Helen, I'm staying up. And but then that means that I can get up earlier in the morning, because I still get the same amount of sleep as you, but get a good 8 hours sleep. But then I function better in the morning. And then other people like you have more energy as it comes into the evening. But what you're doing is you're adapting your life to it, and you're catching up with your sleep in the morning. And society tends to demonise your type of, they're called chronotypes, because it's considered lazy to sleep.
Going to bed at that time,
exactly.
Getting up at that time. We've done half a day's work when you get up.
But your productive time is in the afternoon and in the evening, and actually what we should do is embrace this part of us. So if you recognise that you're a bit like George and you like this evening, and particularly if you work in a job where your hours are a bit more flexible, or you're working from home or something like that, where you can adjust the times that you're working, this is the perfect opportunity to work within that frame of the kind of person you are. Don't try and resist it. If you've got that flexibility in your working day, then adjust your working day to suit it. So don't book yourself any meetings first thing in the morning. That'd be terrible. But about 3-4 o'clock, where us morning people are starting to flag, that's your time, isn't it? You have tons of energy. So, and you know, the reason I want you to prioritise your sleep is because it's so key to everything that goes on, your physical health and your mental well-being as well. So if you get a good night's sleep, the things you can be going through some really tough stuff in your life, but those things won't seem anywhere near as bad if you've had a good night's sleep. And you know, for those of you, maybe there's some of you listening that have got a brand new baby there, and I'm sorry, but you're going to have a few rough nights sleep, I would think, coming up. And it's okay, because there'll come a period where this baby is going to sleep through, I promise you. They will. Certainly by the time they're teenagers, you won't be able to get them out of the bed. And you know, you'll notice, and anybody that's had a young baby, you'll remember those feelings of sleepless night after sleepless night after sleepless night, and you're just kind of functioning on some kind of strange autopilot where you can't even make a decision or a choice, and you don't really know what day of the week it is. And that's because of the lack of sleep. And you start getting a decent night's sleep, and it really changes the way you feel. And interestingly, going back to chronotypes as well, there's a place, I want to say Sweden, but it might be Finland or Norway, somewhere like that. But they've actually changed the hours that schools are open, because they recognise that teenagers tend to be night owls. So they're all up. I don't know if any of you got teenagers, but my son is very often up at midnight making toast and eating me out of house and home. But will quite cheerfully sleep until lunchtime, given half the chance. And so what they realise, these schools, is that these kids aren't productive at that time in the morning. So they start the school late, and they start at like 10, 11 o'clock instead of trying to start at 8:30 when all these kids are all comatose and not really functioning. And it's a really sort of progressive attitude, that is, working with someone's chronotype. So sleep, that's my other.
And of course it's part of repairing your body as well, isn't it?
100%,
Sleeping.
yeah.
You need sleep to repair.
Yeah. And you know, if you've been a bit poorly lately, and you know, lots of people have got all sorts of stuff going on, haven't they? There's all sorts of lurgies going round at the moment, and the instinct is just to take yourself to bed and go to sleep. And that's because the sleep is repairing, like you say. It's really, really good for our bodies and for our minds. So definitely sleep is another one of my top tips. And we tend to sort of demonise sleep, because we say things like, oh, I've pulled an all-nighter, or you sleep when you're dead, or those kinds of phrases that, you know, I'm no Boris fan, but there was a photo of him taking a nap during the day that appeared a couple of years ago, and he was absolutely pillared for that, for taking a rest during the day. But you know, if you've got a job like that where you're working all kinds of hours, then you should take a nap. In fact, I think Winston Churchill was fond of a middle of the day nap.
Your brain needs a rest, doesn't it? You know, it can only take so much.
Yeah. So sleep, definitely sleep. And then when it comes to that sort of top New Year's resolution about getting healthy, eating better, all that kind of stuff, 2 tips on that really. First thing is, find an exercise that you enjoy, and that might be dancing in your kitchen to the radio, or it might be gardening, or it might be going out for a walk. You know, you don't have to sign up for a gym membership to get fit. And in fact, the gyms actually make their money by all these people that sign up in January for a year-long subscription and then never show up. I mean, if all the people that had gym memberships showed up at the gym at the same time, it'd be hell on earth.
Apparently, the small exercises are better than the heavy exercises now, so they say.
Yeah, small chunks.
Small one. I mean, you've got your gyms. Well, I think the people they want to be runners, or they want to get muscles, or you know, they're not. The different clientele, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, if you just, while you're boiling the kettle, if you did a couple of star jumps or some squats or something like that, or push up off your kitchen worktop, then you know, you're just sneaking in this exercise. So these kind of easy wins like that, rather than thinking, right, I've got to go and spend 2 hours in the gym and sweat and all the rest of it.
Well, a nice little exercise bottle of milk, when it's empty,
Yeah.
fill it with water.
Yes, use it as a weight.
You know, you can have two, one at each side.
Yeah.
You can have whatever weight you want. You can have half a bottle or a full bottle.
Yeah. Lift it above
And
your
it
head.
doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great tip, actually. That's because it's so easy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everybody's
and
got.
we all have this plastic bottled milk,
Yeah.
so we can use it, recycle it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so those sorts of things are just so simple. And, you know, I was listening to a Michael Mosley podcast the other day, and he was talking about exercise, and he was saying that the best exercise you can do is squats. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, it's that same exercise that you do when you get up out of your chair in the lounge, or you get up off the toilet. So it's that getting up and sitting down. So his top tip was, whenever the adverts come on, do 10 stand up from your chair or your sofa without using your hands. Do 10 of those every time the advert breaks on. And it's so simple, because he said this is the one muscle that you'll be glad of as you get older, because you want to be able to get yourself up and out of your chair or up and off the toilet yourself, because that's all about independence and quality of life.
And not using your hands.
No, you're not using your hands. So you're going to do a little demonstration for me now. Can you get out of your chair without using your hands?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Ta-da! Yeah, you see?
There's no problem there.
Dead easy, isn't it? So you just do 10 of them every advert break, and that keeps all of those glute muscles nice and strong, you see.
Or having water infection, I've been getting up and down. So
You're an expert, aren't you?
I'm quite fit at that part now.
And so on the other side of that, so I was talking about exercise. So the exercise thing is, find something you love and keep it simple. Like, it doesn't have to be big and massive. Make it something that's really achievable, that you can easily fit into your life. And then when it comes to the food, have a think about eating more mindfully. And what I mean by that is, I'm not talking about some kind of weird hippie nonsense, although some people might think I'm a bit of a crazy hippie, and I'll take that. I don't mind it. Turn off the TV and step away from your phone while you're eating, so that the only thing that you're focusing on is the food on your plate, so that you're really thinking about it.
Saying this about what a lot of problem is with the houses now. They knock the middle of the house down, so it's a through.
Yes, that's it. The
And
open plan.
And when we used to have a separate dining room, we were away from the television.
Yes.
And we went there to eat.
Yes.
And now, because everything's open planned, we all just eat on the sofa or whatever, and telly's on, because it's a big room now. And
yeah, and it's so distracting. And if you think about, I don't know, how many TV channels have you got on your TV? You couldn't even tell me,
and
could
there's
you?
nothing on.
No, that's the irony of it. There's nothing you want to watch, is
Another
there?
repeat.
And what the TV companies have got to do is get you to sit through the adverts, because they want to sell you the products, because otherwise they don't make any money, because no one would advertise with them. So they're trying to keep you engaged and caught up in the TV programme. Coming up after the break, we find out, whatever it is. And so what happens then is you get suckered into this TV programme, and all your focus and your attention is on the black box in the corner, or that little black box that you've got in your hand, and you're not really concentrating or thinking about the food that you're eating. You're not tasting it, you're not savouring it, you're not smelling it, all of that kind of stuff. And it's such a simple change to make. It's a bit of a cultural change, and you'll probably find that if you've got people that you share your house with, that there'll be resistance to this. But actually, that old-fashioned, in quotes, way of eating that we used to have as kids, where you would always sit at the dining table and eat, is a really good way of being focused on what you're eating and actually making conscious decisions about whether you really want to eat the food that's on that plate, or whether you've actually had enough. Whereas if your attention's elsewhere and distracted, then it's really easy to overeat.
I mean, how many people really eat the meals on their lap?
Oh, I bet loads of people do.
Majority, I'd say, people
Yeah,
now.
probably
Because,
so.
Everything's changed again.
Yeah.
Bring back dining rooms.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily eat at a dining table, but I've got a kitchen worktop that's big enough for us all to sit round, and we'll sit and eat there, and it's great, and it's really, really positive for us all to sit there and eat together. So those are my top tips. If you want to know more about hypnosis or how I can help you achieve your goals, then you'll be able to find me on social media. Just look for Helen Hypnotherapy or HW Hypnotherapy, or look me up on my website. It's helenhypnotist.co.uk. Or if you're old-fashioned and you like the phone and you want to give me a call or drop me a text, it's 07585 898 906.
And of course, if you can't get hold of Helen the old-fashioned way, you could always get in touch with us and we will forward your details to her.
Yeah.
She'll get back to you. So
excellent.
Thank you once again, Helen, for coming. Very informative.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great, and of course it's nice to be reminding what we should be doing.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that Hawaiian shirt next time I see you, George.
So, Helen, thank you very much for coming, and this is Radio Royal.